Hi, I'm Brian Miller, Senior Vice President and Game Producer of Star Trek the Video Game. We're excited to be here to show off the game, and you are watching Connected Digital World.
So, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure, I'm Brian Miller. I'm the Senior Vice President at Paramount Pictures and also the Game Producer.
So, the game, Star Trek. Tell us a little bit about the game.
Well, Star Trek is a really important franchise to us at Paramount. I mean, it's been one of the most important brands for the last, 4 decades. And we wanted to make sure that when we rebooted the movie back in 2009, that we could bring Star Trek into the gaming space in a way that maybe hadn't been done before, to really elevate what you could do with a movie-based game. And it's really been a labor of love, not only for everybody here at the studio, but with our partners Namco and Digital Extremes, who's our developer, and, our collaborations with the creative geniuses who worked on the last movie. This is something that we're really proud to bring here to London and show off really for the first time.
So the game is set between the end of the first film and the new film Into Darkness. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the story without giving anything away?
Of course. The game takes place after the events of the 2009 film. So Kirk and Spock are now together. The crew has gotten together. They're out on their missions. And this happens to be one of them. They're out in deep space. They get a call from a space station that's being ripped apart by these two giant two giant binary stars, and they get called into this great mission. And we wanted to make sure that we were telling a original story. And a lot of us gamers play games where it's exactly what you see in the movie is in the game. There's no real fun there to take a character in a place that you weren't expecting, or to give a nice sort of right turn when the player's expecting you to go a different way. And we wanted to make sure that we were telling a scope of a story that really could play on a big screen, but in a gaming space, and that's something that I don't think Star Trek has really done before.
So the game's co-op, so you play as either Kirk or Spock. What if you're single player and you don't have someone with you? How does the game work then?
Well, co-op has always been the thing that we started with. I mean, it was knowing that these two characters really are the core of what Star Trek is. We knew we wanted to make a co-op game. So we've worked really hard to make sure that experience really plays through for the gamer. So you have, if it's a friend and you're sitting on the couch and you're playing together, or you're over the, an internet connection and you're playing halfway around the world. But also, if you're playing by yourself, we wanted to make sure that the experience really was great. And that meant really focusing in on a great AI and making sure that if you were playing as Spock, that Kirk did what you needed him to do. There's nothing more frustrating than playing a game and your AI partner doesn't do anything that he needs to do. So we're really happy with what Digital Extremes has done to push that sort of technology to a place where you're playing the game and you're pinned in, and all of a sudden Spock jumps up and wipes out a bunch of Gorn. It's like, oh, that's what they were supposed to do.
So you mentioned the Gorn. Obviously, they're the bad guy for this particular game. Only made one appearance in the original Star Trek series in Arena. Why choose the Gorn?
We had to choose the Gorn. I mean, when you look at the breadth of the enemies that have been in Star Trek, we knew, right from the front who were the top 5, who were the fans remember the most. And the Gorn was always one for me that I just went to. And as a matter of fact, when we discussed it with the filmmakers and our creative team behind the game, we said it's got to be the Gorn. They were unbelievably iconic. I mean, people still remember that character, and I think it's a credit to Gene Roddenberry and his team for making probably one of the most memorable episodes of TV of all time, where it's unbelievably well written, that it was a great design, maybe not the great budget to put the suit together, but a beautiful, designed world. And we had the luxury and really the challenge of taking that beloved character and putting him into our new universe and being able to make a whole species and culture. And there's female Gorn and commanders and rushers and just this whole breadth of stuff that we couldn't do, but also be able to tell their story. Who are they? What really are they after? What are they looking for, as opposed to what we just saw in the episode?
So there's obviously been quite a lot of Star Trek games over the years.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time we're actually going to get to sort of walk around the Enterprise and see areas of the Enterprise. Tell us a little bit about that and why you decided to incorporate that in the game.
We were unbelievably surprised that there wasn't a game where you could play as Kirk and Spock that had been, done in the past, and play on board the Enterprise and sort of walking around. And, there have been a lot of, great Star Trek games. There have been a lot that maybe, weren't the best, but they all had some elements to them that I think we drew from. And we wanted to play the game where you were Kirk and Spock, and that really drove everything from there. I wanted to be able to walk through the Enterprise. I wanted to see Shuttle Bay. I wanted to talk to Scotty and Uhura and to, Bones and Chekhov and Sulu. And when you realize that in the gaming space it's never been done, we had to do it. It was someplace we had to go. And the great relationship and what the actors brought to the last movie was something that we wanted to revisit in a gaming space. And I think when you play the game, you're going to be really, really surprised and happy as to the level that they bring to of quality to this game.
Are there any sort of Easter eggs and hidden things within the game for fans of Star Trek to spot?
Absolutely. I think what we tried to do with the 2009 film was to make a film that was very broad, that we can get a lot of people to go, that people felt like, it was safe to see Star Trek and see it in a great way, the way that, the film turned out. But if you look at that movie, there was a lot of nods in there to the classic Star Trek and the things that, those fans who've really supported us for the last 45 years through some, great times and some dark times with the whole Star Trek world, that we wanted to make sure that we carried that off into the game. So having the Gorns there, referencing the arena the way that we do in the game, using a mock time, which is probably one of the most classic episodes as well, where Kirk and Spock have to fight each other in the game. There's also little bits back and forth between the character banter that you'll know if you're a hardcore fan, I get it, as opposed to someone who's just a casual gamer, be like, okay, but just the gameplay is fun.
The entrance to the control is through that door, but the hostile presence here is significant.
No problem.
So you've actually managed to get the voices of all the actors and actresses from the film. Was that easy?
We reached out to the cast really early on in the process because we said to ourselves we weren't going to make this game if we couldn't get the entire cast on board. So we reached out to everybody, and we were really surprised because the response back was great. It was, yes, we want to do this under one condition. If everybody else comes back, we'll do it. And for us, that was exactly the right attitude because you couldn't have the game if one of those key members was missing. If Sulu wasn't there, if, Zoe didn't come back, you'd know it. You'd feel that something was missing, and we wanted to make sure that we gave you an authentic experience. In order to do that, had to have the entire cast back.
So this particular story is considered canon within the Star Trek universe. How much involvement had Bad Robot and the producers and the writers of the movies been involved in the game?
We wanted to make a game that really felt like it was part of the new universe we were creating. We wanted to make a game that could fit into the world, into the canon of what we were doing. So we've worked with everybody from, us at the studio at Paramount Pictures to make sure that it was correct. We worked with the entire, filmmaking team to collaborate on where we were going. So we worked with the writers. Bob Orsi gave us great notes and helped us along the path in a big way. We worked with the creature designers. We worked with ILM, who provided amazing files for us to duplicate the Enterprise, down to the little screens and noises in the background. We worked with Michael Giacchino and his team to give brand new original music to our game, which is shocking, not only for a movie-based game, but to have an Academy Award-winning, composer, have him and his team step up and give us, hours of music that you can only hear by playing the game, was something that we're really, really proud of.
So we've had a little bit of a demo tonight of some of the areas of the game that haven't been seen before, and you really don't like the red shirt still.
Well, we couldn't have a Star Trek game without, poking some fun at the red shirts, and the red shirts are definitely, been a little bit of a cannon fire for many, many decades. And so if you were going to make an authentic game, we had to have them in there. And, we didn't pull any punches. We wanted to make a game that had some gravity and had some weight to it and jeopardy. And in order to do that, we had to sacrifice a few things. And what better to sacrifice than some red shirts?
And also, you not only play Kirk or Spock, or both in this game, depending on who you're playing with, but you also get to play as the Enterprise. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The Enterprise is as important a character as anybody on the bridge, and we wanted to make sure that we used her in a really special way. So, again, we looked at it from a twofold process. One was, how can we use her as a ship? So she is a great piece of Starfleet, military equipment, and if Kirk and Spock are stuck in a jam where the Gorn are there, Kirk is actually able to call in an airstrike to clear the way. But we also, I wasn't going to step away from the game until I could sit behind the chair and actually fly the ship. So there's a great moment. It's a great harken back to the old episode where Kirk takes off after the Gorn ship. And we recreate that moment in our game where, as a co-op game, Kirk and Spock have to use the Enterprise, whether it's the torpedoes or the cannons, to hunt after the Gorn and chase them through. So playing as the Enterprise, playing with the Enterprise, and playing on the Enterprise was something that we had to do for the game.
And what's the reaction been from the fans who've seen? Obviously, there hasn't been a great deal shown of the game. There's obviously been some videos and some gameplay footage. How's it been?
Well, I'll ask you the same question after we're done. I mean, we were shocked when we went to E3, and really for us, that was a big nerve-wracking moment because we were showing the game to a group that, really wasn't expecting, I think, what we brought in. And I think a lot of movie-based games, again, there's that stigma that they're not great. So we sat them down and we showed it. And the best compliment we got was, after we showed a 15-minute demo, was, I felt like I watched 15 minutes of the movie. That's the hardest thing to do in a game. And we were so surprised. So the fan reaction so far in the gamer community has been so supportive of us, have given us just great feedback. We're having a great hands-on demo for the first time tonight. And I think the feedback, my fingers are crossed, is going to be where we think it is, which is we've done something in the movie space, in the movie gaming space I don't think anyone's really done before. And we're really proud of that.
Are you a little nervous that the game's coming out before the new film, or is it that just a timing thing?
I don't think we're nervous that the game's coming out before the new movie. I think we're excited by the fact. I mean, there's a lot of energy and a lot of excitement people have to go see, Into Darkness. And we think there's a great moment. There's a great way to feed those fans to say, well, it's coming. Let me have you play an adventure that is brand new, it's unique, that really gets you pumped up.
Okay, last question for you. Kirk or Picard?
Kirk. Definitely Kirk.
Old Kirk, new Kirk?
New Kirk. Listen, we have so much love for old Kirk as well, but we're excited to be in this rebooted world. We think what Chris Pine has done to the role, Zach Quinto has stepped into an unbelievably difficult job of trying to relive what Leonard has done with the program. So I'm all new Star Trek. We think what they've done is amazing.
And when's the game out?
Game comes out April 26th internationally, April 23rd in the U.S.
And on what format?
We're going to be on PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3.
Thank you.
If we weren't trying to save the entire universe, this might actually be fun.